my name is Angela, and this is my brother Richie.
Hi.
And we're starting a new YouTube channel, Fan of Football 813. We're going to go through football teams, the pick of football teams for each week, especially for college football. And this Thursday, right? Yeah, this Thursday starts college football, and the NFL. When does the NFL start? And the NFL starts apparently the following week. So what we're going to do is actually go through the teams that'll be playing on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday as far as college football. Oh yeah, and one on Monday for Labor Day for college football, and going through and picking who we think is going to win. Now, my brother Richie is definitely more into college football, knows the stats, knows the history, knows the players, where I will be picking dependent upon colors of the jersey, mascots, or anything that's really not relevant. Basically, just a random picks. So,
And just to say, for people that know, this is officially week 1, week 0, quote unquote, started Saturday, August 25th. And there were 4 games then, because I know if we skip over it, anybody watching that knows will be like, no, they started 4 games already, because that's what I do. So, UMass fans, you guys killed Duquesne. Rice fans, you came back and beat Prairie View. Hawaii came out and in a shootout beat Colorado State. And Wyoming hammered down New Mexico State. UMass won 63-15. Rice beat Prairie View 31-28. Hawaii beat Colorado State 43-34. And Wyoming beat New Mexico State 29-7.
So we're going to start with the game on Thursday, the Thursday games of August 30th. And the first matchup, I have UCF versus UConn. Now, I'm going to go for UCF because I went to UCF, University of Central Florida, so that's my alma mater. So I'm going to go for them. But who are you going for?
I'm rooting for UCF. They lost some players. They have most of their offense back. They have a quarterback who finished 8th in the Heisman race last year. Their new coach was the coordinator at Missouri last season, offensive coordinator at Missouri last season in the SEC. And they had the best quarterback in the country in terms of touchdown passes. He led the nation last year with 44. So that coordinator is going to the team that had the number 1 scoring offense in the country last season. And with the quarterback back and the other players, they should be able to roll and be a top 5 scoring offense nationally this year as well.
And
they're playing UConn.
UCF is ranked.
UCF is going in ranked in the number 21 in the AP poll.
So next thing is New Mexico State versus Minnesota. And
so the mascots, she doesn't know them, so I'll be saying them. It'll be the Minnesota Golden Gophers against the New Mexico State Aggies. Minnesota is a team in the Big Ten. They are pretty much a mediocre team. New Mexico State made their first bowl game last year for the first time in 57 years. But they are an independent team this year and still
What do you mean by independent team?
So there's different conferences in 1A. And the independent teams are teams that are not in a conference.
Like Notre Dame?
Yes, like Notre Dame.
Which they don't believe should be playing if they can't be.
So what she means is Notre Dame gets special privileges for the playoff and the bowl systems, which is true. They do get them, and they don't deserve them. Notre Dame is one. BYU is one. New Mexico State is one. UMass is one. And Liberty, which they're moving up from 1AA to 1A this year. And if I'm not mistaken, they're in a transition year, but they're considered independent.
So which one's the underdog in this one?
New Mexico State. So I'm going with Minnesota.
And I'm
going to fact check myself though. So the independent team, fact checking, UMass, Army, BYU, Liberty, Notre Dame, and New Mexico State. So I was right, and I forgot Army. So Army is independent.
New Mexico State is the underdog?
Yes.
All right, then I'm going to go for New Mexico State. See, this is what I mean. I just go for random. And I tend to go for the underdogs just because it's always fun when there's like an upset or something. So, next one, Central Connecticut versus Ball State.
Central Connecticut's a 1AA team. I'm going to go Ball State. They're a mediocre at best MAC team, which is, for those of you know, there's
Who is Ball State is?
Ball State. They're in Indiana. And they're in the MAC, the Mid-American Conference, which is considered a group of 5 conference, but they are in 1A, so I think they will win.
1 is higher.
1A is higher. Yes, 1A is the highest. And I do know it's technically called the FBS now, and the 1AA is called the FCS, but I think that's ridiculous, and they need to get rid of it, because for people like Miss Sister and people that might be interested in it, it's easier to use numbers and say 1A and 1AA to define things and to differentiate things.
So, Kennesaw State versus Georgia State.
Kennesaw State is another 1AA team, and Georgia State is 1A, and they were in a bowl last year.
Georgia State was?
Georgia State was in a bowl game, and I'm going to pick Georgia State.
I'll pick Georgia State too. So, Southeastern Louisiana versus UL Monroe.
Southeast Louisiana is another 1AA team. Louisiana Monroe is in the Sun Belt, which is considered the lowest of the group of 5 conferences. And Louisiana Monroe is generally not a great team. They've been to like 1 or 2 bowl games in the last 10 years or so.
What are the mascots of the team?
Louisiana Monroe Warhawks. And I don't know the other one. I know, so there's 131 teams. I know all of their mascots. I don't know most of the other mascots in 1AA because I don't care.
Way to hurt their feelings.
Whatever.
Jeez. Okay, so, sorry. So, which one do you think is going to win this one?
Louisiana Monroe. And I would like to say the first game, UCF Knights against Yukon Huskies. The second game, New Mexico State Aggies against the Minnesota Golden Gophers. The third game, Central Connecticut against Ball State Cardinals. The next game is Kennesaw State versus the Georgia State Panthers. This last one we just did, Southeastern Louisiana against Louisiana Monroe Warhawks. And I'll say the mascots from here on out. I just forgot them.
I think I'll go for UL Monroe as well. So, Northwestern versus Purdue. I've heard both of them are good teams.
Yeah, Jenner. So, they're both pesky.
Pesky?
Yeah, because Northwestern, over the last 10 years, they've had 10 plus, maybe a little bit longer, but their coach kind of turned them around. They were considered they had a couple good years in the mid-90s, but they're kind of a smart school, if you will, like Duke or Stanford or whatever. Northwestern was never usually that good, but this coach came in and they've been, over the last 10 years, they've been generally a bowl team and took them to, like last year they won 10 games. In his tenure there, they've had 3 or 4 seasons, maybe more, with 10 wins in each, where in the 100 years prior they hadn't done that very often.
That's Northwestern.
That's Northwestern Wildcats, yeah. They're in the Big Ten, they're playing the Purdue Boilermakers, also in the Big Ten. And for history, Drew Brees went to Purdue. Purdue had a coach in the early to mid-2000s named Joe Tiller. He was sort of the Steve Spurrier of the Big Ten in terms of the Big Ten has always been a running defense, ground and pound kind of conference. And they still are to a point where Purdue came in, had this passing attack. They'd pass it all around. They'd had good offenses. And then he left, and they kind of been very mediocre last few years. But last year they had a new coach, Jeff Brom, came in for Western Kentucky. He cranked their offense up a little bit. They made a bowl last year. They won 7 games, and they're kind of going into the season with a lot of momentum. That's why this is one of kind of an interesting first week game, because, especially for Thursday night, the first night, because it's two good, solid Big Ten teams facing each other, and it's a very even game. Northwestern is losing their all-time leading rusher. He graduated last year. He ran for 1,000 yards. Remember right, he ran for 1,000 yards in all 4 seasons, which is very rare. He's top 10 all-time in rushing in NCAA history.
Wow.
And so that's kind of a loss for them. But their quarterback Clayton Thorson had a good year last year. He got hurt late in the season. He should be okay by the time. It was a pretty bad injury, but he should be okay for this season. If he's okay, they should have a good year. So, with all that being said, the Purdue Boilermakers and the Northwestern Wildcats, I will have to part my gut. I don't know. I'm just leaning towards Northwestern.
Once I write it down.
Yeah. I'm just going to go with them. I think I have a feeling I'll be kicking myself, but
Go with your gut. What does your gut say?
yeah, Northwestern.
Northwestern.
The first week, I was telling her earlier, this first week is the hardest one to pick because I have no idea how these teams are going to look.
So, what are the jersey colors for Northwestern versus Purdue?
Do what?
The jersey colors.
Northwestern's like a purple blue, kind of like a purplish, and Purdue's more like gold and black.
I like purple better, and this is what I'm talking about. Like, I literally, how many times have I picked teams by the jerseys colors?
That's all she knows.
That's all I know. So I'm going with Northwestern for that, especially if they really are like even. So Wake Forest versus Tulane.
Wake Forest is a mediocre. They made a bowl last year and won. I think the last 2 years maybe, but at least last year. They're kind of a mediocre ACC school, which is a Power 5 conference.
Wake Forest?
Yes. Every now and then they'll jump up and win 10 games out of nowhere, but generally they kind of vary in between. Tulane generally has been they're in the American Athletic Conference, and they're normally not great, not very good. The last year or so,
Wait, what conference?
American Athletic, which is the same conference UCF is in.
Okay.
However, last year they had a new coach. It might have been his first year, maybe a second, but their running game was pretty good. They were this close for making a bowl. They finished 5-7. The last game of the year, the quarterback, I believe he got over the goal line with no time left for the winning touchdown. The refs said he was short by literally an inch, and they lost the game. There was 0 time on the clock. They were down by like 4 or something. They needed a touchdown to win. I think it was a terrible call, and it was a bullshit call. Let's be real. They did a replay, and you could clearly see the ball over the goal line, and they said no, it was bullshit. They got robbed.
Yeah.
They should have been in a bowl. Huh?
It was Tulane.
That was Tulane,
Who
yeah.
are they playing against? Do you remember?
I can't. Southern Methodist, I think, but I don't remember.
It was the last game of the.
It was the last game of the year. They were 5-6. To make a bowl, you need to win at least 6 games, and there was literally zeros. There were zeros on the clock. If they got the touchdown, they would have won the game and gotten to a bowl game. The refs made the bad call, and then the replay was shit. They didn't reverse the call. They should have. That should have been a touchdown. It's one of the worst calls I've ever seen.
Even the replay didn't do anything.
Even the replay was clear. So
which one are you going for there?
This game, though, I'm gonna have to go with Wake Forest.
I will as well. Savannah State versus UAB.
Alabama, Birmingham.
Oh.
And those are the Blazers. UAB was one of the best stories of last season. So, 2014, They get a new coach. They go 6-6, which is actually a big deal in UAB because they'd only made one bowl game prior to that ever, and they didn't get a bowl. And it's a good story because that 2014 season was the last for their football program, supposedly ever. The state, for some reason, there was money issues. I don't know exactly the stories, but they shut down the football program. 2015 and 16, they had no team. They had nothing. They had their coach was there, but they pretty much all the players transferred out and played elsewhere. And there was like 4 people that stayed. And then in 2016, they said you can have a football program again. So this last year, 2017, their football program came back. They actually made a bowl game and won 8 games in their first season back after not playing for 2 years. And being at a school that is not known for being any good at football.
Wow.
So they had one of the best stories last year.
That's like, that should be made, and I'm not even being sarcastic, that should be like a movie.
There's a lot.
That would make
I
a good
don't know
movie.
much about what happened, but supposedly there's a lot to it. But it was one of the best stories that nobody knew about last year. They made a bowl. They didn't win the bowl, but just the fact they made it after 2 years of having
half the
no
battle.
team, like, at all. So, that being said, anyway, I'm going to pick UAB for this game.
I think I will too. So Missouri State versus Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State, they're usually a pretty good Big 12 team. They lost their quarterback though this year and their receiver.
Wait,
They have a really good running back.
Oklahoma State.
Yes, his name is I forgot his name off the top, but he ran for like 1,400 yards last year, and he was one of the best. He is one of the best running backs in the country. But they lost their receiver, who, if he didn't win the Blitnikoff Award, which goes to the top receiver nationally, I think he's in the top for it. And their quarterback, who was one of the best in the nation last year, and they're both gone. Although Oklahoma State, their quarterback is Drew Brown, who is a transfer from Hawaii, and he played there the last 2 years. He wasn't great, but he fits the system pretty well, so they might not drop off too much.
Oklahoma State what?
Oklahoma State Cowboys.
And then anything about Missouri State? I mean,
They're I think a pretty good offense normally, but that's about it. Oklahoma State should be able to win.
so you're going for Oklahoma.
Yeah, so I'm picking Oklahoma State.
So if Missouri State won, would that be like a Ooh, I'm going for the upset. So Missouri, I'm going for Missouri. I like the upsets so much. I just think they're fun. Weber State versus Utah.
And Utah Utes are a pretty good Pac-12.
Utes, UTES.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Utah.
Utah. Okay.
They're one of the most consistent teams in the country. Their coach has been there for 13 years, I think, at Utah. And they've made 11 bowl games with him, and he's 10-1 in bowl games, which is nuts. That's insane.
Wow.
So
So I'll go for Utah as well.
yeah,
Okay. So Northwestern State versus Texas A&M.
Texas A&M is in the SEC. They have that new coach, Jimbo Fisher. He used to be at FSU. Texas A&M, their quarterback situation. I gotta look. I've read all this stuff, but I can't remember. I think they have a pretty decent quarterback. I don't remember if he was returning or he's just played some, but either way, they should be able to win that first game.
Texas A&M.
Yeah.
So you're going for Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm gonna look up. I'm gonna check myself. I'm gonna look up who A&M is.
I'll go for Texas A&M as well.
Nick Starkel
Nick Starkel is the quarterback
for Texas A&M.
for Texas A&M. Okay. So UC Davis versus San Jose.
San Jose State Spartans. I'm just gonna go for them. There's not much to say about them. They're not.
Okay.
They're not very good. I think their quarterback might be okay, but that's about it.
So I'll go for San Jose State. I actually like Spartans. Like Greek, whatever.